Hi everyone, welcome to episode 64 of Pantry to Plate. I am Kristen, the food bank dietitian, and I am coming to you from the Kaiser Permanente Learning Kitchen at the Atlanta Community Food Bank. We are not cooking today, but we wanted to bring you some little tidbits of info that can help you prepare your favorite dishes using the foods that you have available to you. So whether you're purchasing from a grocery store or shopping at your local pantry, sometimes the specific things we're looking for may not be available. So I wanted to share some simple swaps using pantry staples so you can make your favorite dishes. And they may not be exactly the same way you make it, but we can get a little creative and think about how we can title it to make it fun and exciting for other people that you might be cooking for in your household. So the first swap we're going to talk about is using small pasta shapes in place of long pasta. So when I say long pasta, I'm talking about like having spaghetti when you want to make spaghetti, so long noodles. And if a pantry or the brand that you like is not available, you can also choose any small pasta shape to make the same dish. So you may have noticed that in the promo image for this episode in particular. This is one super common thing that we hear about from our neighbors through our partner pantries. So partners, if you have your neighbors asking you about where's the spaghetti, you could, I suggest, and I'm happy to help you, you could do a sampling of different shapes of pasta with the same type of sauce. We had great success doing this with one of our partners, and it really just shows that it's the same type of flour, the same flavor, it's just a different shape, and you could call it penne spaghetti instead of, or bow tie spaghetti instead of spaghetti using long noodles. So this is a really great way to use the items that you find at the pantry to replace some of your favorites. So example number one. So our next swap that we're going to talk about is swapping out rice. So rice is typically going to be at the food pantry, but occasionally you may see some other small grains like quinoa or orzo, farro, couscous at your local pantry. So if you just want to try something different in place of rice, you could choose one of these options. But if rice is not available, quinoa is going to be a small round grain. Orzo is a pasta that looks like rice. And farro is also another small grain. Couscous is very small. So you can use these options in place of rice if you don't have rice on hand and you do see these options at a food pantry. Okay. And the next swap is, this one's one of my favorites, is swapping out pasta sauce if you don't have a jar that you're used to using. So you can use any a canned tomato product to make a pasta sauce. So if you've got a can of whole tomatoes, you can squish them up and mash them up and make them into a smoother tomato sauce and add your favorite flavors. So we typically will suggest something like Italian seasoning and garlic. If you, the possibilities are endless. That's just your traditional pasta sauce like that you would find like tomato basil or something like that. So we always suggest if there is not a jar that you're looking for, you can find a canned tomato product and translate it into a pasta sauce. And then, so this next one is going to be, what if there's no tomato sauce or other tomato products? You can use tomato paste. So all tomato paste is concentrated tomato. So the water has been removed. So for the example, this is a 6-ounce can of tomato paste. You would take this can and you would fill it up with water and you would heat it up and just get this to melt down into the water. And then there you go, there's tomato sauce. So then you can take that next step to season it and flavor it to your taste, like, for example, garlic and Italian seasoning. So there are little ways where we can think a little bit outside of the box when we're shopping for, with what is available to us. Okay, next swap we're going to talk about. This is a classic one from a food pantry standpoint. You will either always see dry beans or canned beans at the pantry. So we know that some people are team dry beans or team canned beans, but if you don't have the one that you prefer, there are other options that you can consider. So when we think about making this swap, dry beans, if you've got 1 cup of dry beans, you're going to need 2 cans of beans to have the same amount in your final dish. So this works for any type of dry or canned beans. Canned beans are going to be a little more convenient because you can pop the top, drain and rinse, and keep it moving, while the dry beans will need an overnight soak to rehydrate them, or the quick soak method, but it still is going to take 2 hours to cook them. So little caveats there. Okay, next swap. So this one's one of my favorites. We like to call this a stretch meal. So we know ground meat, protein, or fresh produce are going to be the most expensive ingredients when we are shopping at the grocery store, and then our meat products are not always available at the food pantry or the particular ones that we would like to have. So brown lentils are a great option to either add to your ground meat or to replace ground meat in any dish where there's ground meat. So these are brown, or sometimes called green lentils. They have a little bit of a green tint. And the beauty about lentils is that they do not have to be soaked before you cook them. Like with dried beans, you do, because they are larger size and they need to be rehydrated. These are going to hydrate as they cook, and they're a great option to either add to your ground meat or replace it. And the texture is going to be like a small size like ground meat is, so it's a good option for that. So cooked brown lentils. And next swap. Okay, so when we are thinking about baking, we might be looking for self-rising flour. So that self-rising piece means that it has either baking soda, baking powder already in it. So it will rise once it goes into the oven. So if you do not find that, you can seek out a pancake mix or a biscuit mix, and those are very similar products. So the only main difference here is that pancake mix or a biscuit mix is going to have a higher amount of salt in it, because it's like a just add water type product. So keep that in mind, but you can still select this as a substitution for your self-rising flour. And if you are a baker and you like to spend a little bit more time in the kitchen, you can always have an all-purpose flour which doesn't have any leavening agents in it, and then you can add those yourself. Okay, next swap. Okay, so I really love this one too. I'm going to not say that every single time. We like to use breadcrumbs in different places. Maybe you're making meatloaf, maybe you're making salmon patties, and you want to add that, it's a binder. It's going to act to like hold everything together. Meatballs are another place you might find this. If you can't find breadcrumbs, you can always make your own by drying out some bread, or if you have some old bread, to make your own. You can also use crushed up potato chips, crushed cereal, unsweetened cereal. That may be a little weird if it's sweet. You can also use, I lost the third one. Crackers. Yes, that's the last one. So crackers also work here. And what the beauty of these is you can also put these on the outside of some foods. So not as only a binder for your meatloaf or your meatballs, you can put it on the outside for texture. Okay, the next one is this one. Okay, here we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. Buttermilk is something we might want to bake with or make our biscuits with, or eat it with our cornbread if you're super Southern. My husband's father used to do that. So if you don't have buttermilk, you can combine 1 tablespoon of vinegar to regular milk and let it sit out for 5-10 minutes. And it's going to mimic the flavor of the sour of buttermilk. So this will work in the same way that buttermilk does if you do not have that on hand. Okay, and then cornstarch. So this one's really cool to think about. If you make gravy, you might start with flour as your thickening agent. And you know you have to start with some fat in the pan, and then you're going to cook your flour down, and then you add your liquid to thicken it up little by little. So cornstarch is a little different from that. Cornstarch, you're typically going to add it to cold water and mix it in. It melts very quickly. That is called a slurry. So if you do not have cornstarch to use for thickening a sauce or a soup, you can use other things like potato flakes. That's going to be like your instant mashed potatoes product. You can use flour, you can use canned pumpkin. I know that sounds crazy, but it will thicken up your soup. So pumpkin doesn't work in every place you might choose to use cornstarch, but it is an option for thickening dishes. So these are all 1-to-1 ratios. So if you need 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, you will use 1 tablespoon of potato flakes. For flour, it's 2. So 1 cornstarch to 2 flour. So if you are starting, if you need to thicken a soup and you have already gotten past the initial steps where you have fat in the bottom of the pan, you can add your flour directly to the soup, and you just need to bring it to a boil for a couple minutes to get that cooked flour taste out of it. So options for thickening if you don't have cornstarch. Next, this one was really cool. It was new to me, and I love the idea of this. If you come across a recipe that asks for vegetable, beef, chicken, broth, but you have soy sauce on hand, you can add soy sauce to water to get like a savory flavor in the same way that broth would do that for you. So it doesn't say low sodium on the screen, but we always recommend low sodium soy sauce. It doesn't taste any less salty, in my opinion, than full salt soy sauce. You're not missing out on anything if you choose the low sodium option. Okay. And then you don't have soy sauce. You can also substitute Worcestershire sauce. That's how I pronounce it. Anybody, you know the jokes about this word. So it's going to be a 1-to-1 substitute for soy sauce to the W sauce. And so it's just going to give you that savory flavor and the savory salty you're looking for with soy sauce. Okay, I think those are all of my swaps that I wanted to share with you. If you have some things that you like to do at home when you know you're missing some of your key ingredients, I'd love to hear about it. Please let us know what your favorite swaps are from your food pantry finds in the chat box. I would love to add them to my list that I share with our neighbors. So we don't have any recipes to share today, but I do have a really long list of swaps to share with you, much more than what I shared here in this video. So you can go to this QR code so you can use your phone camera to act like you're taking a picture, and then tap the little link that shows up on your screen, and it will take you to the this folder for this episode. So if you are using your phone to watch this video, you can click the link in the caption and it will also take you there. Okay, I hope this was helpful to you, and I would love to hear about your favorite ways to make use of the items that you have available. So thanks for watching. I'm Kristen, the Food Bank Dietitian. We'll see you in a couple weeks for another episode of Pantry to Plate, and Take care.